Now that Chimere has been revealed as the Man in the Mask, or colloquially Smiler Ren, we can now move forward with theories about him. There's definitely more to Chimere than meets the eye, as Yor describes him as having entered his mind, and Osha confirms that Mother Anastasia could also do the same.
He gets into your head and he stays there.
My mother could do that.
We could theorize that Chimere could have played a role on Brendock 16 years ago. Manny Jacinto is currently the same age as me, so he would be 22 at that time. Chimere's age as a character hasn't been established or disclosed. This is also reinforced by Soul saying,
I sense something familiar.
in response to Chimere saying,
You don't remember me.
but what about his current form in present time? As I pointed out in my video, you can hear Kylo Ren's theme play as he kneels before Osha.
We are.
In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly discussing episode 5, they did say Sith Lord, but never truly called him a Sith Lord. And as we have established, interview answers are not treated as canon. And we all know they're capable of dishing out misdirects in interviews to help hide the rainbow roll. Soul asks,
What are you?
and Chimere literally says,
I have no name.
saying he has no name, but that the Jedi would call someone like him a Sith only precludes that the Jedi would generalize a dark side user. But as Chimere says, what he is, no label exists. So we continue to theory craft. Chimere is the first Ren. In a post I made prior to episode 5, I had speculated that Chimere was either the Acolyte or the first Ren, but it's looking like the first Ren is more likely, and here's why. I think Chimere first trained under a Bay Knight Sith Lord. He learned how to use the dark side, became very powerful, but what does Chimere say he wants?
What do you want?
Freedom. The freedom to wield my power the way I like, without having to answer to Jedi like you. I want a pupil, an acolyte.
He wants freedom, he wants an acolyte, he wants a pupil. So somewhere along the way, as he was training under this Bay Knight Sith Lord, he expressed this. But what would a Bay Knight Sith Lord tell him? You can't do that. The rule of two. So this is where the second part of Chimere's personal shticks comes in.
Rules, rules, rules. If you never follow them, you never have to break them.
I think he found the Sith to be just as bad as the Jedi in terms of rules, particularly the rule of two, because he wanted an acolyte. And that's when Chimere splintered off to create his own ideology away from his master. An ideology that fits really well with the Knights of Ren. They do what they want when they want. They just are. That's the philosophy of Knights of Ren. In Crimson Reign issue 4, Kira tasks Ren to steal from Darth Vader's castle. At the time, Knight Mirinda suggests that they have an understanding with the Sith to stay out of each other's ways. But Ren at the time pushes back, saying, the Sith are not our friends, and they will get to us eventually after dealing with the Jedi. I think Chimere was a Sith, left, and created Ren to codify the ideology of freedom and wielding their powers freely without limit. What does Ren have to do with Chimere? I suppose he just makes that up. But we'll find out. Much like the mask has changed over time, I think that ideology had shifted slightly as it got to the Ren we know from Rise of Kylo Ren, and then to Kylo Ren himself. So how does the show satisfy the Sith remaining undiscovered? It's simple. My theory is, Soul, Osha, and May survive, or they could die, both work. His former master, the Bay Knight Sith Lord, kills Chimere before he risks any more exposure. With Chimere dead, Soul, Osha, and May, along with Vernestra, because she's probably going to be involved in this scenario, return to the temple with this information and choose to cover it up. Much like them keeping the Jedi killings from the High Council, they'll elect to do the same with this information to avoid general widespread panic. With Chimere seemingly dead and the threat soon to fade away into obscurity, Vernestra and the others will let this information die with him. The Jedi killer has been captured, Chimere is dead, so they don't really need to speak on it any further. And so the High Council and the larger populace continues on without any knowledge of the Sith. And for 100 years, that is the case, making Ki-Adi-Mundi, with all of the hubris in the world, say,
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.